Hello?
Hi, is this Barrie?
It is.
This is Cameron Versluis. Hi there.
Cameron, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. I'll tell you what, I got about an hour, and I've got people coming at around 2 o'clock my time.
Okay.
So that actually, and so you're moving it earlier the way you did, which helped you, also helped me.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it really worked out perfectly at this time.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your willingness to do this.
Oh, sure. No, I do it all the time. I'm prepping to be on the Coast to Coast radio show on the 17th, actually.
Really? That's
Oh,
excellent.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I'm doing the whole show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it'll be a late night, but then I'm a late night guy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. You're a student. You told me that.
Yes, I am. Yep.
And are you recording?
Yes, I am. I just started. Yep.
Yeah, I often tell people, look, if you can, record it. That way,
Right.
I don't have to wait for you to write your notes.
Yeah.
And I can be more spontaneous, and you can quote me correctly.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
So fire away. I imagine you have some questions prepared.
Oh, yes, I have all sorts of questions. Well, first off, for people who don't know, could you just explain what the shroud is or what it's supposed to be?
Sure. The shroud is a 14.5-foot long, 3.5-foot wide linen cloth,
Mm-hmm.
woven in the ancient style, first
Yeah.
century style, and bears the image front and back, full length, head to head, of a man who has been scourged and speared and crowned with a cap of thorns and crucified. And all of those evidences forensically have been proven to exist on the shroud.
Wow.
And of course, many people believe that this is the cloth that wrapped Jesus after he was taken off the cross.
Got it. That is quite impressive. So when was the shroud discovered, and why is it called the Shroud of Turin?
Well, it's called the Shroud of Turin, first of all, because it has been in Turin since 1578.
Okay.
So in 1978, when our team was given permission to examine it, the reason that it was on public display was to commemorate the 400th anniversary of it being in the city of Turin.
Wow.
So it's called the Shroud of Turin because that's where it resides to this day. However, prior to that, it has a history that goes back to France, prior to it coming to Italy in the hands of the Savoy family, the owners of the shroud, who were the monarchy of Italy, the royal family of Italy.
Yeah.
And they, when the last Duke of Savoy died in 1983, he left it to the living Pope, or the Catholic Church, if you will. And that, in 1985, when the will was probated, the result was that for the first time in its documented known history, the Shroud of Turin.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I stopped
okay.
just waiting to hear if that was enough.
Okay. Good. All right. Yeah. It's been all over the place then.
As far as its discovery, that was your question.
Yeah.
There are, like I say, its history can be traced back without a break to about mid-1300s.
Okay.
Then it becomes obscure, and there are gaps in the history. Now, there were other objects described to be exactly like the shroud, bearing the image of the crucified Jesus,
Right.
bearing his bloodstains. There were copies made of the shroud, that there were icons based on the shroud, and the evidence, historical and art history evidence, has shown that. So these other objects, which skeptics like to deny, because obviously there was a break in the chain of custody, as they say,
Yeah.
on CSI. But the real issue is any artifact from ancient times has breaks in its history. It doesn't seem to matter until you get to the Shroud of Turin. And I think if there were only 5 minutes unaccounted for, the skeptics would claim it's a fake. But the evidence points to the same cloth that we call the Shroud of Turin to have been known as the Mandylion, or the cloth of Edessa.
Okay.
And it's interesting that in Constantinople they had this Mandylion.
Mm.
And when the Crusaders came to sack the city, the mandilion was put into the walls of the city to sort of hide it and protect it.
Yeah.
But they sacked the city and looted the city, and the mandilion disappeared forever. About 150 years later, it shows up in the hands of a French crusader named Geoffrey de Charnay, the great-great-great-great-grandson of another Geoffrey de Charnay, who participated in the sacking of Constantinople. Now, you cannot draw that conclusion from a scientific or a pure historical point of view, but logic would tell you if the great-great-great-grandfather helped sack the city of Constantinople, and his great-great-great-great-grandson shows up with a cloth like the one described that had been in Constantinople, one can make that connection, even though you can't document it.
Absolutely.
And there's the problem. There's not documentation because, for one thing, owning an object like this in the earliest days, first 3 or 4 centuries, there were people looking for relics to destroy. They're iconoclasts.
Yeah.
They were looking for any kind of icons, and they wanted to destroy them. The other thing that most people forget is these were all Jews. This cloth bears the blood of the man that was wrapped in.
Yeah.
Jewish law requires that that cloth be buried with the body. Jewish law also says that possession of that cloth is against the law because it must go into the grave. After Jesus' body disappeared, and I won't argue where the body went because I don't know. Obviously, Christians believe he was resurrected.
Yeah.
I don't know. But after Jesus' body disappeared, and when they opened the tomb, what remained were these cloths, 2 of them actually, both of which are listed in the Gospels. The second one being known as the Sudarium of Oviedo. It's kept in the town of Oviedo, Spain. It's documented back to the 6th century. It has bloodstains that match some of the bloodstains on the shroud.
Oh, wow.
It has no image on it. It was a head cloth. You know, to this day, when somebody dies, first thing we do is cover their face, cover their head.
Right.
And that goes back, probably it's Jewish tradition, but it probably goes back before Jewish tradition to pagan tradition, where they cover the face of the dead. So we have 2 cloths mentioned in the Gospels and 2 cloths remaining to this day, one of them being the shroud, the other being the sudarium. The shroud, because it contained bloodstains, would have been against Jewish law for the disciples to keep it. But they weren't going to throw away the cloth that wrapped the man they believed to be the prophesied Messiah.
Right.
So